Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a busy show in store for you. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with comedian Mickey Bell. He's going to be in Elmira coming up very soon, so we're going to find out all about that, find out about his stand-up routine. That'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. We've got a busy week as well. As you know, today, for our friends at the Salvation Army, and I know people like to follow this, it's the beginning of the friendly competition between Corning City Republicans and Corning City Democrats. Today, the Democrats will be ringing the bell. Tomorrow, right here, and that's right in Centerway, by the way, and tomorrow will be Republicans, so we'll try to remind you. But on Friday, it's the Salvation Army Telethon right here on Frankly Speaking, so don't miss that. Mark your calendar. We'll put up the information a little bit later on in the broadcast so that you can donate ahead of time. All right, let's go to a viewer comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. This came in late Friday. I enjoyed Karen's quote yesterday. Dr. Ben Carson was actually my number one choice in 2012. I think he's genuinely really good, a really good person, a brilliant surgeon, and an all-around wise man. Fortunately, God knew better because they needed someone like Trump who has a bit of a different tone and can take these slings and arrows, and sometimes his abrasiveness is definitely necessary when you're dealing with evil today. Have a great weekend. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And yes, Karen's quote of the week was a great quote, as they always are. So we have some breaking stories that we won't really be able to kind of segue between. But yesterday, on Pearl Harbor Day, none of the 12 surviving U.S. military members from the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor, all of whom are more than 100 years old, were able to attend this year's ceremony in Hawaii. It's part of a sorrowful trend that has seen fewer and fewer survivors able to come out to memorialize the day that lives in infamy, with this year being the first to see no survivor show up, not counting in 2020 during COVID when there was no public ceremony. The idea of not having a survivor there for the first time, I don't know, it hurt my heart in a way I can't describe, said Kimberly Heinrich, whose 105-year-old father, Ira Ike Scobb, had to cancel plans to fly in from Oregon after falling ill. An estimated 87,000 troops were stationed there on December 7th, 1941, when the American naval base was attacked by Japanese kamikaze planes, killing more than 2,300 soldiers and flinging the U.S. into World War II. During the 50th anniversary of the attack in 1991, about 2,000 survivors reunited to pay their respect to their fallen comrades. Last year, only 2 survivors were able to make the trip, including Shab, who touted that he was able to stand on his own 2 legs to salute sailors during the ceremony. I was honored to do it. I'm glad I was capable of standing up, he told the Associated Press. I'm getting old, you know. Earlier this year, Vaughn P. Drake Jr., the oldest Pearl Harbor survivor, died at the age of 106. Tapes have been created to keep the stories alive of Pearl Harbor survivors, similar to what was done to record the histories of veterans in the Civil War and World War I. So on a sad note, none of the 12 remaining U.S. military survivors of Pearl Harbor were able to attend the annual memorial, as they are all more than 100 years old. Yesterday, we learned Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said he didn't order the second strike on the alleged Venezuelan drug boat, but he would have. I fully support that strike, he said at the Reagan National Defense Forum on Saturday. I would have made the same call myself. Now we know that whole story. We don't need to get back into it. We've been talking about it for over a week now. President Trump has supported releasing footage of the strikes, but Hegseth was non-committal during a question and answer session at the Reagan National Defense Forum. Quote, we're reviewing it right now to make sure sources, methods, it's an ongoing operation, tactics, techniques, and procedures. We've got operators out there doing this right now. The September 2nd attack was the first of 22 known attacks on alleged drug vessels by the Trump administration. At least 86 people have been killed in the strikes. The Pentagon said Bradley, a Navy SEAL, was the only one who ordered the second strike on the boat, which Democrats claim could amount to a war crime. So far, only snippets of the strike have been released to the public. Lawmakers briefed on the strikes were shown the full footage. I talked to you about that last week, where some Democrats were saying it was the worst thing they've ever seen in their lives. It's very weird to be on the side of the drug cartels, but that's where many have found themselves in the Democrat Party. Several Republicans who received a similar briefing, including Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Tom Cotton, have sided with the Pentagon, saying, quote, "I saw two survivors trying to flip a boatload of drugs down the United States back over so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context, we heard of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover the cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. It's my expectation and my deep hope this will continue." Now, where was it? There's a piece. Yeah, here we go. David Marcus says that President Trump has seen recent setbacks in his polling numbers on many issues. But one bright spot in surveys has been his aggressive approach to Venezuela, including taking out drug cartel boats. But there's another purpose at work here, one that may help end the war in Ukraine. What is important to understand is that Venezuela is a client state of Russia, as is Iran, and as was Syria until the recent overthrow of Bashar al-Assad. One by one, Trump has been proving that against American might, Putin cannot keep his sketchy global friends safe. Quote, "Russia's track record with allies like Iran, Syria, and now Venezuela reveals a familiar pattern," said Peter Doran, adjunct senior fellow for the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. "The Kremlin will make lavish statements of support, but provide minimal backing when real threats emerge to its clients." Noting how thin Putin is stretched by the war in Ukraine and U.S. sanctions, Doran said keeping Maduro in power is a bridge too far for Moscow if President Trump presses the issue. One could almost see Trump's main Ukraine negotiator, Steve Witkoff, saying to a Russian counterpart, "How's your boy Maduro doing? Seems to be he's having a tough time. I wish we could help." While Putin has been murdering Ukrainians and maintaining the largest European land war in generations, Trump has been weakening Russian global power. Syria is making nice with America, Iran has been denuclearized, and now that leaves Venezuela. In recent weeks, Russian cargo planes have been seen flying into Venezuela. Nobody's ever quite sure if they're there to bring supplies or perhaps at some point to airlift Maduro to an early retirement in Moscow, where al-Assad now resides. It is a very telling situation, David Marcus says, because the entire reason that Putin invaded Ukraine was that he believes it falls under Russia's sphere of influence. Yet, without putting a single soldier in combat, the United States has marshaled support for Ukraine that has stymied the Russian dictator. For almost 4 years now, Putin has sent his own armies into a meat grinder, employed North Korean mercenaries, and expanded more treasure than seen in all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies combined. That's a weird way of putting it. It's been little avail in terms of breaking the stalemate. Compare that with America's situation regarding Venezuela. We could take out Maduro tomorrow, and there's not a darn thing that Putin could do about it. In fact, this week's new national security strategy statement from the Trump administration doubles down on a Monroe Doctrine-like policy of putting the Western Hemisphere first and foremost in our security goals. But rightfully putting our own backyard first does not mean that Trump or America are exiting from the global stage. In fact, much the opposite is true. Trump understands the global chessboard. He knows that while direct conflict with Russia could lead to global war, picking off the Kremlin's rogue client states around the edge is fair game and puts pressure on the center of that board. Duran said President Trump's big stick approach to Venezuela recalls Teddy Roosevelt's approach to the region. Instead of gunboat diplomacy, Trump is deploying supercarrier diplomacy. A quiet retirement abroad is the best option for Maduro before options narrow further. Putin won't be able to save him. Trump has put Putin in an incredibly tough position. If the dictator remains dedicated to his fantasy of reclaiming all of Ukraine to restore the USSR, he risks the United States undermining his allies and clients across the globe. Russia may be faced with a choice of regaining what it believes is its territorial integrity at the price of no longer being a global superpower. Trump is proving again, as he once told Ukrainian President Zelensky, that he holds all the cards. At the moment, he is playing them masterfully, tightening the noose around Russia as its geopolitical allies are knocked off one by one. At last week's cabinet meeting, Secretary of State Marco Rubio described Trump's foreign policy as transformational. Quote, because for the first time in a long time, we have a president who basically puts America at the forefront of every decision we make in our relations with the world. In Venezuela, the Department of War is indeed playing offense, as Trump promised, but the opponent isn't really Maduro, it's Putin, who may soon find out that another of his pariah allies is off the board forever. I thought that was an important way of looking at this discussion on Venezuela. We did have a little hitch when it came to Gaza. Hamas's leader, Khaled Mashal, declared that the resistance and its weapons are our honor and glory, and that the battle is not over, boasting that rights are won at the recruitment office, not the UN Security Council, a declaration that directly contradicts President Donald Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan. Speaking Saturday by video to the Pledge to Jerusalem conference in Istanbul, the head of Hamas abroad used a keynote address carried on Al Jazeera to lay out an uncompromising roadmap that flatly rejects the core elements of President Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan: disarmament, an international stabilization force, and Hamas's removal from power, even as the terror group moves towards phase 2 of the U.S. brokered ceasefire it ostensibly accepted 2 months ago. Marshall told supporters that while what he called the worst phase of a genocidal war in Gaza is over, the conflict with Israel is not. He urged the wider Islamic group to commit to the liberation of Jerusalem as a banner and symbol of freeing Palestine, including the, quote, cleansing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the reclaiming of Islamic and Christian holy sites, framing Gaza as the vanguard that launched the Al-Aqsa flood massacre in 2023 and turned into the pride of the nation and the consequence of nations. Anyway, so Hamas chief Khalid Mashal defies Trump's Gaza plan and says there will be no disarmament. So there's a couple. Well, look at all these waves and comments coming in. Thank you. Appreciate that. We've got some other breaking stories from over the weekend. We're going to talk about the Kennedy Center honors. Even the media finding that as an opportunity to attack Trump. We'll talk about that. We've got a couple things here. We actually have an update here, a couple of New York State updates. Talk a little bit maybe about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've got a couple of interesting pieces about college campuses from two perspectives. One from a conservative student and one from a professor on why they see their students embracing socialism. I thought we might talk about that since we talk so often about the protests on college campuses. I'll be reading your comments here in just a little bit. As I said, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, Mickey Bell is going to be joining us, comedian. I believe he's on Huckabee's show a few times. He's going to be joining us because he's at the Salvation Army of Elmira on December 10th for a Celebrate Recovery celebration. So we'll find out all about that. And again, don't forget, today is the friendly competition. Today is the Democrats, Corning City Democrats, will be ringing the bell from 10 till 6. And then tomorrow it will be the Republicans. So get out your checkbook. But also, please, save a little bit for our Salvation Army Telethon, as we have a generous donor who is matching everything that we make here on Frankly Speaking up to $6,000. So if you donate $100, it's like you donated $200. So please help us reach that goal. And on Friday, we'll have a lot of great music, special guests. You will not want to miss it. All right, let's take our first break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
I see it all, but I'm human.
How can I keep going like this?
Who will listen to me when no one gets it?
Is there a safe space for me?
How will I handle it all?
We all have a reason. 988 can help you find it. We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988 for emotional support and crisis services. It's free, confidential, and here for you 24/7.
When you're running, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
If you're paying high interest rates on your credit cards, you're burning money. Consolidated Credit can work with your creditors to reduce your total payments by up to 50% and lower your high interest rate so you can stop juggling multiple payments. Save thousands in interest charges and pay off your credit card debt fast. You don't have to be good with money because we are. Call 800-228-1532 for a free consultation. 800-228-1532. That's 800-228-1532.
years ago. We gotta set ourselves up. Retirement is the long game. We can't play about our future or our finances. Let's put ourselves in the right position.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Steve. These brain-fried bozos have facts and laws. All you have is laughs. Someday you might actually have evidence and actual facts. Just because your TDS has you so emotionally involved, this is on you. Your hatred rules your life. We enjoy the comedic relief. Did you ever complain when Obama actually killed American citizens? Nah. How about when any other president used their executive power? No. How about the auto pen? Nah. Going to enjoy the continual mental meltdown for at least the next 3+ years. Don't need any excuses. When Trump actually, who probably knows the laws better than anyone else, uses them, declaring terrorist organizations was absolutely brilliant. Hope he blows them all up. He actually gets you to defend drug dealers, cartels, rapists, murderers, child trafficking, human trafficking, illegal immigration. Yet you're so blind, you do it without any hesitation. Imagine that. You're trying to say people that agree with current policies are exactly what you are. You're just too blind by emotions to see it. Enjoy the ride. And that was in reference, Steve was talking to the anti-Trump crowd, not me. A comment from a different viewer. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. The Dems don't care about the terrorists on the drug boats. It's just something to put down or go against Trump. Dems have no feelings. Thank you, Mark. It is being reported, take it with a grain of salt because it's by Mediaite, but President Donald Trump is reportedly considering a move to get rid of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and potentially replace her with a soon-to-be former governor. According to the Bulwark, two unnamed former DHS officials who served under both Biden and Trump administrations and are still plugged in with current staff say Trump is indeed considering moving on from Noem, potentially really soon. A third ex-DHS official who also served under Biden and Trump did describe the situation as fluid. Trump, according to the report, personally likes Noem, but the report also states top White House officials have been frustrated with her leadership. Specifically, her employment of Chief Advisor Corey Lewandowski, who has been characterized with having an outsized role at DHS. Now, Lewandowski commented to this full statement that none of the writing is true. But a big-name Republican could soon be waiting in the wings. Term-limited Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has reportedly been floated as a replacement after he leaves office in mid-January. CNN previously reported Youngkin expressed more interest in an economic or business portfolio rather than one focused on immigration, but would still be excited by the prospect of any cabinet post. Outwardly, Noem certainly appears to be trying to stay in Trump's good graces. During a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, the DHS secretary heaped fawning praise upon Trump, saying, "You made it through the hurricane season without a hurricane." She added in a widely mocked comment, "You kept the hurricanes away. We appreciate that." Still, one of the former DHS officials the Bulwark spoke with for the story said things are blanked in the department. It's horrible. They're going to destroy the place. I'm just hoping the new secretary gets here in time. So, again, take that with a major grain of salt, but that is what is being reported by Mediaite and Bulwark, that Kristi Noem could be on the out. Oh, did you see that? And I know I kind of butcher his name, but Kuehler, former Representative Henry Kuehler, he, after Trump pardoned him, Henry Kuehler has announced he's running for re-election. 70 years old, who sits in one of the House Democrats' most competitive seats, faced federal bribery, money laundering, and foreign agent charges for allegedly taking $600,000 from a Mexican bank and a I don't know how you say this, Azerbaijan state-owned oil company. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Congressman Henry Cooler announced that he will be running for Congress again in the great state of Texas, a state where I received the highest number of votes ever recorded. As a Democrat, Trump raged in a Truth Social post. Such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh, well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. So signaling that he regrets the pardon of Henry Cooler after Cooler announces that he will be running for re-election after that federal bribery, money laundering, and foreign agent charges. Okay. Oh, also, yesterday, Trump announced that he's adding his birthday as one of the days that you can go to national parks for free, but this is receiving some backlash, which is normally the case with anything that Trump does. The Trump administration is reshaping when Americans can enter national parks for free, adding President Donald Trump's birthday as a fee-free day while eliminating Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth, in a move already drawing criticism from civil rights leaders. Although presidents often revise the list, the changes are sparking criticism from civil rights advocates and Democratic lawmakers who say the removal undercuts holidays that honor Black American history and contributions. The shift in 3 entry days marks a notable break from the 2025 calendar, which leaned heavily on long-established public land celebration and civil rights observances. This year's lineup includes Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Juneteenth, National Public Lands Day, and the kickoff of National Park Week, all of which disappear under the 2026 schedule. In their place, the Trump administration has added a slate of historically themed or presidentially aligned dates. President Donald Trump's birthday, which also happens to be Flag Day on June 14th, becomes a fee-free day for the first time, as do Constitution Day, the 110th anniversary of National Park Service, and the birthday of Theodore Roosevelt. The agency is also shifting some observances to federal holidays with broader national recognition, including President's Day, Memorial Day, and a 3-day Independence Day weekend. Veterans Day remains the lone date carried over from both years, underscoring how dramatically the free day calendar is being remade heading into 2026. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Democrat from Nevada, said, "Let's be clear here. Both MLK Jr. Day and Juneteenth were free entry days last year. The president didn't just add his own birthday to the list. He removed both of these holidays that mark Black America's struggle for civil rights and freedom. Our country deserves better." There has been no announcement from the Trump administration on the decision as of yet. All right, so the Kennedy Center Honors. It was a big event. We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit. I did want to mention, actually, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about college. I don't want to run late and not be able to mention this because I think it's important to see what we're dealing with in all of the education system. So we'll be talking about that when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
This is Bob. He's gambling by giving Nana's precious snow globe to his niece. Bob understands how to gift responsibly. He knows some gambles are too risky, like gifting a lottery ticket to anyone under 18. Studies show the earlier a person begins, the more likely they are to develop a gambling problem later in life. Better grab the glue, Bob. We all take risks in life. Just gift responsibly. To learn how you can gift responsibly this holiday season, visit playresponsiblyny.com.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
Oh my gosh, wow. Who am I? Wow, is that really me?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Greenhut, the CEO of Plexiderm. All it takes is 10 minutes to reduce the appearance of under eye bags, wrinkles, and crow's feet. The instant results are from naturally based silicates found in shell clay. Once applied, your skin tightens and firms. Take action with our Plexiderm 10-minute challenge. Try it today for only $14.95 plus get free shipping. Visit plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So this video came out on Fox News, and it's a student at a small college in St. Paul, Minnesota. He was caught on video. I don't know if you'd even say caught, but it was caught on video. He defended Charlie Kirk's assassination and even saying at times he celebrated it. The student approaching the Turning Point members on the campus of Hamline University while they were hosting a tabling event. He said, why shouldn't I be glad that Charlie Kirk got shot? Like, honestly, the unnamed student said. After a back and forth about gun control, the agitator doubled down. I'm for the Second Amendment. I'm just glad Charlie Kirk got shot because he said some really stupid blank. The student was asked whether he had ever said anything stupid. Well, yeah, but, he said, before being cut off by the Turning Point member, who asked if he should be shot for stupid things he said. No, well, because I didn't say that gun violence is necessary, the student replied. I'm just saying I think it's good Charlie Kirk got shot because he got what he preached. He said that violence is necessary. He said that empathy is a weakness. Why should I be empathetic to that? Now, Kirk never said empathy is a weakness, but did say on a 2022 episode of his podcast that he disliked the term. So the student continued, he got shot because he called for it. He said, bring it on. I watched the video of him getting shot in the neck and I clapped. Now, this points to a larger picture, and that's why I wanted to mention it, at college campuses. Brillian, I think is how you pronounce her name, Brillian Hollyhan, said something is deeply broken in American higher education when students feel they must hide their beliefs or worse, pretend to be liberals just to survive a class. And as a college freshman, I hear this from my own friends every single week. It's not a hypothetical for me. It's the daily reality of the people I sit next to in the dining hall, study with in the library, and walk past on the way to class. When I did question and answers on 10 different campuses this semester, before students asked me about geopolitics, foreign aid, the election, or even the cost of living, they all asked the same thing. How do I survive college as a conservative? Every campus, every crowd, every time. That tells you everything you need to know about the climate students are facing. Yes, that is exactly what's happening on campuses across the country. And the latest example out of the University of Oklahoma is impossible to ignore. A medical student at the university, Samantha Fulneck, recently failed an opinion-based assignment because she quoted the Bible in her essay on gender roles. The teaching assistant, a self-identified transgender instructor, marked her down not because her work lacked structure or clarity, but because her reasoning came from a worldview the professor didn't personally accept. And this is exactly the kind of thing students pulled me aside to tell me about at every single school I visited. Stories whispered quietly, like they were confessing something dangerous, because that's how it feels to them. Let's be very clear. If your grade is dependent on agreeing with your professor, the class isn't about education. It's about indoctrination. And that's the point we made on this program so often about these professors that live in a bubble where they're surrounded by yes men, meaning the students, and they are never to be questioned. You have to agree with the professor or you will most likely fail. But this incident isn't just about one professor or one school. It's a symptom of a culture that has taken root in academia over the last decade. One that demands uniformity, punishes dissent, and treats Christians or conservative students as unwelcome intruders in their own classroom. On multiple campuses, students told me they write two versions of every essay. The real one they believe, then the safe one they actually turn in. Others told me they avoid certain majors entirely because they know disagreement isn't allowed. These aren't isolated fears, they're patterns. And I hear them in red states, blue states, big universities, and tiny private colleges alike. And nobody should have to pay thousands of dollars in tuition just to be told their beliefs are unacceptable. The left loves to use phrases like diversity and inclusion, but those words somehow never apply to diversity of thought or inclusion of faith. The irony is almost too rich to ignore. Universities that preach tolerance have somehow become the least tolerant places in American life. As for Christians and conservative students, the message is loud and clear. Conform or be punished. I watched this played out in real time. At one campus where I spoke, a student waited until everyone else had left just to whisper, "What do I say when my professor mocks Christianity?" At another, a student told me their professor openly admits to grading conservatives more harshly because of our, quote, dangerous worldview. These aren't internet stories. These are real kids with real fears looking for permission to breathe. Let's stop pretending this is coming from educators. These are activists wearing the professor's badge. Many universities have abandoned the idea that a classroom is a marketplace of ideas. Instead, they treat it as a training ground for ideological alignment. Students aren't encouraged to ask questions. They're expected to memorize the correct answers. And if those answers conflict with their faith, their upbringing, their moral framework, or even basic common sense, too bad. Students told me they've learned to read the room before they speak, to scan for who's listening, to choose their words cautiously, not because they lack conviction, but because they know the wrong sentence can follow them for 4 years. But here's the most important part. Students see it, they feel it, and they're tired of it. Young people today are more aware of double standards than ever. They can see when criticism is selective, when biases are obvious, and when the person grading their paper cares more about politics than teaching. And when a student gets failed for citing the Bible in an opinion essay, the bias isn't subtle, it's a billboard. The results, silence, fear, and self-censorship. And that's exactly what many professors want. They want you to self-censor. The easiest classroom to control is the one where the conservative students have learned to keep their heads down. But the silence comes at a cost, not only for students, but for the integrity of academia itself. When only one worldview or viewpoint is allowed, education becomes propaganda. When students stop asking hard questions, learning stops entirely. And when professors punish religious or political identity, they aren't just breaking trust, they're breaking the very purpose of their profession. And that cost is exactly why students kept lining up after my events, not for selfies, but for reassurance. Reassurance that they're not crazy, not alone, and not wrong for refusing to surrender their beliefs. The solution isn't complicated. It doesn't require federal investigations or massive new bureaucracy. It just requires courage. Sunlight fixes this. Exposing it fixes this. Young people refusing to roll over fixes this. It's time for students, especially conservative and Christian students, to stand firm, not with anger, not with outrage, but with clarity, confidence, and conviction. Because the moment you force a student to deny their beliefs in exchange for a passing grade, you haven't educated them, you've coerced them. And coercion has no place in a classroom. If universities truly care about academic excellence, genuine diversity, and preparing young people for the world they're about to lead, then it's time for them to practice the tolerance they preach. Until then, sunlight will continue to expose what's happening behind closed doors, and students must continue to refuse to roll over. Now, Brilliant Hollyhan is a 19-year-old political commentator. I thought that was an important message, as we've seen even locally at places like Cornell, these anti-Semitic protests. We've seen very troubling things coming from academia, and that's tying in with what Eric Peterson writes, saying after 30 years as an educator, and this is at a high school and college level, here are 5 things I'm hearing from students. First, they know nothing about the crimes of communism. When it comes to the period of 45 to 90, many have almost no historical knowledge. It appears that many history classes jump from victory over the Nazis to current events, perhaps due to teachers' exhaustion in the waning weeks of the academic year. The results? Few know about the crimes of communism that resulted in the murder of 100 million men, women, and children. Moreover, they do not know about heroic dissidents who stood up to tyranny, nor the costly efforts of their forebears. Second, pop Marxism is attractive due to its seductive promise to take care of everyone. In the past, American youth grew up working, responsible for paying their own way through part-time and summer jobs. They understood how their own ideas, labor, and efforts were financially rewarded. And when they chose how to spend their fruits of their labor, movie tickets or a weekend show, saving for a car or college, over the time, they took on great responsibility as they matured into adulthood. Now, we don't have time to go through all these. It's just important. Again, this is after 30 years in academia. The third thing that I've learned is that students, they value privacy and efficiency differently from previous generations. Fourth thing I've learned is skepticism regarding the American experiment in ordered liberty. And finally, fifth, many of today's young adults, know little of international affairs, especially the despicable regimes that are America's foremost adversaries. Younger Americans see themselves as social justice champions. But when was the last time you heard about students organizing a 5K race or any other charitable endeavor for the victims of communism in Cuba, Nicaragua, North Korea, Venezuela, Laos, elsewhere? We should make the portrait of Marx, Stalin, and Che just as odious as the image of Hitler. We should make the hammer and sickle and other symbols of communism just as odious as the swastika. At the same time, we can resurrect the true American story with its scars and its grandeur and teach them to our rising generation of citizens. It's not too late. We can do so. So I thought those were two very powerful messages, one from a student, one from a teacher, and what is being dealt with at the high school and college level. Now, I had a couple things here about these attacks on Israel and these attacks on Jewish people, which would actually tie in with that. But I think we're going to move ahead to the Kennedy Center's honors. We may get a chance to get back to that a little bit later on, but I realize I'm running a little bit late. As I said, in the next hour, Mickey Bell will be our guest, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And stay with us. We'll be right back.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
An Albine buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
Since 2013, Valley City Insurance Services has been your hometown insurance provider. We're small enough to give you the attention you deserve, but large enough to provide you with access to the nation's top insurance companies. The staff at Valicenti Insurance Services will help you find the right plan for your individual needs, whether it's auto and home insurance, life insurance, health insurance, or business coverage. Valicenti Insurance Services, Water Street in Elmira. Visit us at ValicentiINS.com.
Do you want free internet? Forever? You got it. Really. We mean it. Spectrum is offering free fiber-powered internet forever. Want it? Just call this number and switch 4 mobile lines to Spectrum for a lifetime of internet you never pay for. It's not a trial. It's an unprecedented offer. So we'll say it again. Free fiber-powered internet forever. Have you called yet? Because your internet is forever. But this
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Sorry, I saw a couple comments coming in late. Let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes in, I thought college was a place to learn, not a place to be brainwashed by professors who try to inflict their beliefs on students. Well, and that's why that young lady is pushing her story, because it is one that needs to be told. You think of all these students that are self-censoring out of necessity, because it's not just about their grades sometimes, though it very much is. The professors want yes men and women around them, so that they can indoctrinate them. But it's also the social aspect that she didn't necessarily mention that piece. But the idea, if you're the lone conservative in the classroom, you become a sort of social pariah. So a lot of people just keep to themselves. Comment from a different viewer. Frank, half of today's youth can't even tell you what continent we're on. Have you seen the people doing interviews on the streets? They asked one kid what continent the U.S. was on. The response was Texas. Texas. Well, there you go. That says a lot. Thank you for that. All right, so a tuxedo-wearing President Trump hosted Sunday evening's 48th Kennedy Center honors, making the first time a sitting president has led one of the glitziest nights of the year in D.C. Trump, who once dreamed of being a theater producer, honored the likes of Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, Gloria Gaynor at the star-studded event, capping off a year of big changes. This place is hot, the president said, as president/MC. He ordered the renowned center, the Trump Kennedy Center, he told the crowd before pausing for some laughter. I mean, the Kennedy Center. I'm sorry. This is terribly embarrassing. Ahead of the event, the commander-in-chief and First Lady Melania Trump walked in through the red carpet and stopped for roughly 20 minutes to take questions from reporters. He said, I hosted The Apprentice when it was #1 and had an audience of 42.5 million. He said when asked about the ratings he expected for the night, that'd be a good one. I'll do very good. The president also admitted that he hadn't prepared much to host the star-studded ceremony. I didn't prepare a lot. I have a good memory. You have to be yourself. Johnny Carson was always himself. After an intermission, guests took their seats, and Trump took the stage to deliver a speech and introduce the incredible artists on the stage. This is fantastic, isn't it? It's just so incredible. This is the greatest evening in the history of the Kennedy Center. Not even a contest. There's never been anything like it. The show is already getting rave reviews, he told the crowd. Trump had named himself chair of the Kennedy Center's Board of Trustees and quickly purged all of former President Joe Biden's appointees. The president argued that a major overhaul was required because of a prior decision to allow drag show performances at D.C.'s marquee cultural venue, among other concerns. Kennedy Center is in tremendous disrepair, as is a lot of the rest of our country, most of it because of bad management. This is a shame what I've watched and witnessed. On Saturday, he said that it would be the first time that a sitting president has hosted the award. He said he'll be criticized no matter what he does, but he's confident he'll be a better host than Jimmy Kimmel. He said, if I can't beat out Jimmy Kimmel in terms of talents, then I don't think I should be president. Now, Kimmel previously hosted the Academy Awards and has been a frequent critic, to say the least, of the president. It's unclear how involved Trump was with the process of selecting the honorees, but Stallone is a close ally and is serving as Trump's ambassador to Hollywood. Trump saying he's a great guy. He's done a fantastic job and he really deserves this honor. You know, it's something he's wanted for years, and this is bigger than it's ever been. So I believe that was, I did not get a chance to watch it. I don't know if it was on. Oh yeah, George Strait got the Kennedy Center Award too, British actor Michael Crawford. Trump saying, it's going to be something that I believe, and I'm going to make a prediction. This will be the highest rated show that they've ever done. So we'll tell you a little bit more. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. So this doesn't air. The show will air on December 23rd at 8 p.m. So mark your calendar. The 23rd at 8 p.m. What is that? What day of the week is that? But yeah, good. I didn't know if it was live or not. But again, you had Sylvester Stallone, members of the rock band Kiss, disco singer Gloria Gaynor, British actor Michael Crawford, and country music legend George Strait. This is perhaps the most accomplished and renowned class of Kennedy Center honorees ever assembled, said the president. The president draped a custom Tiffany & Company medal around each honoree's neck. Unlike the traditional rainbow ribbon with gold plates, the medal hung from a blue ribbon featuring the recipient's name on one side and the Kennedy Center with rainbow colors on the other. The luxury jeweler also donated the prestigious medallions for the event. Outside the Oval Office, the Rose Garden echoed with hits like Gaynor's 1978 anthem, I Will Survive, and Kiss's I Was Made for Loving You, along with other hits from the performers. So that will be coming up again on the 23rd. I didn't know if it was a live event, so now we know. Now we know that President Trump avoided the honors during his first term after artists said they would not attend out of protest. There you are. Now, wait till you see the media's coverage of this. We'll talk about it when we come back, how the media is twisting it, making that historic event a negative. We are going to talk a little bit here, not a lot, but about the pipe bombing suspect. We also have some New York State issues that we need to get to before the show wraps up. I can't believe how fast hour number 1 is going. As I said, Mickey Bell will be our guest in the next hour. You won't want to miss that. What do we got? We got a lot of events coming up, but I do want to highlight the telethon before we go any further. I think, let me see. There you go. That'll take you to the website, that QR code. We'll take you to the website so you can donate specifically to the Frankly Speaking Telethon, which is this Friday. You do not want to miss it. We've got great music from the Crystal Chords, Doc Possum. We'll have some special guests in that will be a part of our big celebration. So again, that is the QR code. Please donate or drop by the studio. You know, a lot of people have already dropped it off. We got our kettle right here on the desk. So the telethon is this Friday. Don't miss it. And as I said, a very generous donor will match up to $6,000. So let's say you do $100. It's like you did $200. Let's say you did $10. It's like $20. So hopefully you saved up this year for your donation, didn't hand it in yet, and that you'll bring it here to the telethon. And you could bring it ahead of time. It doesn't have to be telethon day. So just let me know, or if you have any questions, you can write to that number on the bottom of the screen. We'd love to hear from you, how we can get that money to do the most good, because the Salvation Army, let me tell you, they're humble, so you don't always realize how much they do behind the scenes, but they are such an amazing addition, if you will, to our community, such a help for those in need. So that's why we're so passionate about it here, and that's why we're proud to raise that fund and hopefully reach that, essentially $12,000 goal. So please be a part of that. I would really appreciate it. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
This is Jim from Famous Brands. We are ready for fall and loaded with all of your favorite brands. Great new deals are arriving every week. We have the largest selection of clothing and footwear in the Finger Lakes, all at below retail prices. Famous Brands, downtown Watkins Glen, where you're always looking good for less.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know what your kids are doing online? Brought to you by Ferrario Jeep.
This is a collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Your Big Fox, WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're talking about the Kennedy Center honors. The Washington Post says Donald Trump's Kennedy Center is showier, emptier, and more political. As I said, we've got a couple examples of them trying to politicize this or trying to make it a negative on Trump, like they do with everything. On the day in February that President Trump took over the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, his new board ousted Deborah Rutter, the longtime president of the institution. She gathered her staff to offer a hopeful farewell. That evening, she welcomed other leaders to her home to mourn. Rutter told the Washington Post, "As with any wake, you drink a little too much and you tell stories and you laugh and you cry." Rutter had planned to step down at the end of 2025 after leading the Kennedy Center through a decade in which it had diversified its offerings and during the 2020 lockdown and emerged to robust ticket sales and, according to publicly available tax filings, steadily growing revenue. But she still had four major items on her to-do list: growing the center's endowment, furthering its work as art educators around the country, strengthening the financials of the National Symphony Orchestra, and renewing the contract with CBS or finding a new broadcasting partner to air the Kennedy Center honors. Those plans died, but the Kennedy Center did not. The center is now guided by a board of Trump loyalists, always loyalists, and a new staff, including the center's president, Richard Grenell, a veteran of the first Trump administration. They have terminated much of the former staff, lambasted the former leadership, and made changes, including the addition of high wattage events, like the World Cup draw. They've embarked on a $257 million renovation in line with Trump's broader efforts to leave his mark on Washington's cityscape. They've boasted about hefty fundraising. Now, nearly 10 months in, a picture of a transformed institution has come into view. Standbys of the Kennedy Center stages, like the National Symphony Orchestra, have been strained by plummeting ticket sales and organizational uncertainty. Traveling productions and acts have pulled out, and a new kind of right-leaning programming has begun to take root. So what is the Kennedy Center now? For one thing, it's getting a Trumpian revamp. He ordered new marble and the repainting of the exterior columns. Portraits of the first and second couple now hang in the center's Hall of Nations, and the building exterior is occasionally lit up in red, white, and blue, a move that many staffers joke makes the building look like the flag of France, not America. It was in rough shape, Trump said on Saturday, but we've fixed the White House and we fixed the Kennedy Center, even offering those new medals, as we mentioned, from Tiffany and Company. And wittingly or not, the new leadership has made the center a political football for the first time since its opening in 1971. House Republicans have suggested renaming it for Trump and the First Lady. Conservative groups have flocked there to host conferences and meetings. Senate Democrats are investigating the Kennedy Center, accusing Grenell of self-dealing, favoritism, and waste, which he has denied. Enough about all this. So somehow Trump is destroying the Kennedy Center now as well. How about this? Donald Judd says, after months of bending the Kennedy Center to his will, Trump takes center stage for the annual honors. He says, though the president has never been one to shy from the spotlight, his turn as host for the Kennedy Center Honors annual pre-recorded telecast meant the program and the presidency entered uncharted waters yesterday, a fitting crescendo following months of Trump's personal interjections into the Art Center's management, entertainment program, and architectural design. By all accounts, Trump, who was elected chairman of the Kennedy Center board after he removed Democrat-appointed trustees and installed a small cadre of loyalists in their stead, has maintained a hands-on approach. Unveiling the list of this year's nominees, he said he was 98% involved in picking the awardees, who would typically be determined through a committee. As a result, Trump's class of Kennedy Center honorees reflects more than anything his own personal taste in entertainment. Sylvester Stallone, a frequent guest at Mar-a-Lago and a White House ambassador to Hollywood, is among this year's inductees. The band Kiss, whose frontman, Gene Simmons, appeared on The Celebrity Apprentice with Trump. Simmons has had some choice words for any critics who claim Trump has politicized the nation's most prominent cultural institution by inserting himself into the center's management, telling reporters on the red carpet the improvements were long overdue, especially since not a single cent of American taxpayer dollars is going to the improvements here. Shut blank up. Gloria Gaynor and her seminal hit, I Will Survive, is a fixture on Trump's campaign rally playlist. Gaynor herself has donated to numerous Republican candidates since 2016 under her birth name, Gloria Fowles. Okay. British actor Michael Crawford, also honored this year, originated the role of the Phantom in The Phantom of the Opera, a musical Trump has admitted to seeing several times. Trump, who also accompanied by First Lady Melania Trump, touted this year's honorees during his remarks, suggesting no future class would ever match the accomplishment of his hand-picked group. Tonight, we are seeing pure talent on full display. Nothing is more inspiring. Nothing has ever done it better. Nobody has ever done it better than the people you're watching and honoring tonight, and perhaps no one ever will. All right, so they're criticizing him for getting political, but what a lineup. I mean, it really is a star-studded lineup. You can't knock him for that. They try, but for whatever reason, a lot of times the articles don't mention George Strait. That was a big one. George Strait, Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, Michael Crawford, and Gloria Gaynor. So there's your quick update on the Kennedy Center Honors, which will be on TV on December 23rd. All right, we've got a lot to cover. Seems like we're just getting warmed up, but this hour nearly through, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Your top water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hi, this is Till, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Wrapping up hour number 1. We got a comment from Ken that we'll get to at the top of the hour, looking at Sunday, some of the Sunday shows. I have a couple things on that as well that I want to get to. First, as an update from last week, CNN anchor Jake Tapper did issue a correction after referring to the D.C. pipe bomb suspect as a, quote, white man. Now, this was during his broadcast where he said that he was a 30-year-old white man. Yesterday, minutes before we showed you the suspect's photo, I should note I mistakenly said that the suspect was white. Obviously, as the photo revealed, he's black. Apologies for that mistake. Why that, why the knee jerk to announce that is odd anyway. But the mystery deepens, says Miranda Devine. Mystery deepens as to why it took FBI over 5 years to finally bust the suspected January 6th pipe bomber. It lumps mystery on top of mystery, she says. We'll maybe talk a little bit about that, but if we don't have a chance, you can find it. I think it's the main article at the New York Post this morning by Miranda Devine. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 a few moments away. We're going to be talking with Mickey Bell in the next hour. Mickey Bell is going to be at the Celebrate Recovery Celebration on December 10th at the Salvation Army of Elmira, 414 Lake Street in Elmira. So we'll find out about his comedy routine in the next hour. Then on Wednesday, so tomorrow it's just you and I spending some time together before we hunker down for a very busy week. Wednesday is Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. We always look forward to the sheriff coming in the studio. Then on Thursday, former Congressman, current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski will be our guest. And then Friday, it is the big day we've all been waiting for, the Salvation Army Telethon right here on Frankly Speaking. Do not miss it. Make your donations while you can so you can be a part of doing the most good, as the slogan goes for the Salvation Army. Do the most good. So your $10 will be matched. Your $100 will be matched up to $6,000. So please donate. We've had some people stop by, drop off a check. If you have any questions or you need me to meet you somewhere to get a check, just let me know, because we really want to make sure we reach that goal of raising $6,000 during the telethon, which means we've actually raised $12,000. So we want to get to that number, and we are a little bit slower this year. I know there's a lot of people and a lot of different organizations kind of pulling from you at every direction. So we are maybe a little bit slower this year than in the last 2 years. So I'm just passing along that information to you because we got to get this is a brand new higher goal than last year. Last year was $5,000. This year it's $6,000. So we can ultimately give the Salvation Army of Corning $12,000 if you would be so inclined to help. Thank you. All right, let's take our last break of this hour and start hour number 2 after this.
If you or a loved one
regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
With any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately, and batteries never need charging.
This is Life Alert. I'm calling for help right now.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
For a free brochure, call 1-800-806-2212. 1-800-806-2212.
Tommy's son of like murdering those guys. Yeah. That was so cool though when he's like don't mess with my kid. Yeah. And she's like, is that a threat? He's like, damn right. And then then he kicks the chair out from underneath there. That was so cool. But so I don't want to say too much because have you watched all season 2? Yeah. So I'm not there yet. So I'm only got it. So I don't give me.
No, I don't want to give anything away.
No.
It doesn't stop being great.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I've already been told Demi Moore plays a bigger role in it. I'm not crazy about her character right yet, but it's relatively new. It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll hear from Mickey Bell. Ken writes in. Oh, did you hear I was talking about Landman. How bad was it? I had the mic. Rebecca, I had the mic on. Everybody hears my thoughts on Landman. Well, there you go. I didn't say anything bad. We were just talking about Landman. All right. Oops-a-daisy. All right, comment from Ken. I'm always amazed by the left's rhetoric. Hold on. Let me take a step back. Your mic was live then on the way while you were walking back. I heard you talk about Debbie something. No, I was talking about Demi Moore from Landman. Okay, Ken writes in. I'm always amazed by the left's rhetoric. Ilhan Omar was interviewed by Brennan on Deface the Nation. Brennan asked her about Trump's comments on Somalia in her district, or Somalians in her district. She said that the divisive rhetoric from leaders is responsible for dangerous actions. In response to those words, and that those comments shouldn't happen. Seconds later, she called Stephen Miller a white supremacist. You make a good point, Ken. And she said some pretty nasty things. Ilhan Omar compared Stephen Miller, who is Jewish, mind you, to Nazis in Germany as she lashes out against Somali immigrant crackdown. Ilhan Omar outlandishly accused Stephen Miller, an observant Jew, of espousing white supremacist rhetoric akin to the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany. When I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany, Omar said on Face the Nation. Omar, a first-generation immigrant from Somalia, was reacting to an ex-post by Miller. Just everybody's saying, I didn't say anything bad, just like Trump, you had a live mic on the break. Yeah, I hear that. I didn't say anything bad. You're not just important individuals, you are importing societies. Let me take a step back. Omar, this is what Stephen Miller said. You're not just importing individuals, you are importing societies. No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and descendants recreating the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands. Lefty critics have long tried to pin Miller to white supremacists, despite his Jewish heritage. The Minnesota Democrat has been incensed by the Trump administration's targeting of her home state over an eye-watering $1 billion fraud scandal in which dozens of people fraudulently took taxpayer money for social services they never provided. You know, our country's at a tipping point. Trump said during a cabinet meeting last week, we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. Those are people that do nothing but complain. They complain, and from where they came from, they got nothing. Well, they came from heck, we'll say, and they complain and do nothing but, we'll say, complain. We don't want them in our country. That was last week. So Omar fired back, saying it's completely disgusting. These are Americans that he is calling garbage. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. As I mentioned, there is this piece. I just don't have time to get to it. But Miranda Devine asked why it took 5 years to get the January 6th pipe bomber. According to his family, he is borderline autistic and incapable of such a crime. In interviews, Cole's grandmother, Loretta Cole, has said he is very naive. He's almost autistic-like because he doesn't understand a lot of stuff. He's slow. He may be 30, but he's got the mind of a 16-year-old. Yet, we are told his alleged criminal masterminds evaded the FBI for almost 5 years. But surely there's more to it than that. Patel hinted on Friday at a reason the FBI under Wray during the Biden administration may not have wanted to solve the case: intentional negligence. This, after all, was the FBI that managed to round up and charge 1,500 Trump supporters who set foot anywhere vaguely near the Capitol on January 6, 2021, tracking them down through cell phone pings and video footage. Yet, with all their technical ability, Wray's FBI somehow missed the phone used by the suspect in the vicinity of the Democratic National Committee and Republican National Committee on the evening of January 5th. So basically what she's saying is this leads to more questions and really that we've received answers. And they talk a little bit here about some of the photos and some of the actual information, but nothing would be permitted to interrupt the false narrative that J6 was an insurrection worse than 9/11 committed by ultra-MAGA white supremacist domestic terrorists who killed 4 cops. None of that was true, of course. In the wake of Biden's insane racial pandering following the BLM riots, it would have been most inconvenient if a black man was the pipe bomber. Maybe the answer to the mystery is as simple as the fact that Wray's FBI just didn't want to look too closely at a suspect who would wreck the White House's narrative. All right. Oh, Marjorie Taylor, Ken had mentioned Face the Nation. We could talk about that in just a moment. But first, did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene sparring with Leslie Stahl over what she claimed was accusatory behavior from the journalist? This is what happens. I mean, yes, is she being liked by some in the mainstream media? Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a little bit, but it normally comes with a disclaimer where they still insult her. Greene gave her first sit-down interview with Leslie Stahl since announcing her resignation. Stahl and Greene spoke about the Georgia lawmaker's apology for taking part in toxic politics. I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics, Greene told CNN back in November. Stahl asked Greene, but you contributed to that. You were out there pounding, insulting people. Greene pushed back, claiming that Stahl had contributed to toxic politics herself. You're accusatory, just like you did just then. Stahl said, I know you're accusing me, but I'm smiling. Greene said, you're accusing me, but we don't have to accuse one another. They continued to go back and forth, and Greene repeatedly insisted that Stahl should also acknowledge her own contribution to toxic politics. Stahl said, I don't insult people. Greene said, you do in the way you question. And you're accusing me right now. I don't know what she expected, because she's still not going to be completely embraced by the mainstream media. And I don't think she's ready for what this leads to, because the people like Stahl are still not going to support her. They're not going to say, oh, you made a mistake, you apologized, good. Now you're okay? No. Allison Main from CNN says Marjorie Taylor Greene stood defiant in her first interview since announcing her resignation, making clear she's not afraid to speak out on the issues that made President Trump furious with her, including her support for releasing all files related to accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. She said her concerns lie with survivors of the convicted sex offenders' abuse, who she said are asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it, and he was furious with me. Now, a lot of people, and Trump himself, even saying that she's upset and she's turned on him because he suggested she do not run for governor or Senate because her polls were not there. Green suspects many of her GOP colleagues' unshakable loyalty to Trump comes largely out of fear of defying him. I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them, she told Leslie Stahl. While most Republican lawmakers hesitate to publicly criticize Trump, Green insisted what they say behind closed doors would shock people. I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his you-know-what, and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time. She claimed many of the threats she previously came from those on the political left, but since her falling out with Trump, they're coming from the right. I got a pipe bomb thrown at my house and several direct death threats on my son. The subject line for the death threat on my son was exactly what Trump said, Marjorie Trader Green. So that's, well, and Elon Omar and others are saying the same thing, that they're getting these threats. Green also said once she retires from Congress, she's done running for office. I have zero plans, zero desire to run for president. Oh, good. I would hate the Senate. I'm not running for governor. I'm one of those politicians with a long list of political I'm not one of those politicians with a long list of political plans. Now, we know she is retiring so that she can get, when she is retiring, because she can get her full pension. So that plays a role in it as well. But thinking that she was going to be treated with kid gloves, but she's still Marjorie Taylor Greene. So there's your update on Marjorie. We got to take a short break. When we come back, a couple other topics, and then right around 7:20, we're going to be talking with Mickey Bell. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, and we'll be right back.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.,
Darren L.,
Cole W.,
Preston L., absent.
Absent.
Absent. Absent.
Because healthcare, anti-bullying,
mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. You may see a child wrestling with hidden battles. We see a child learning to manage life's twists and turns. And where you may see a distracted teen, we see teens making a difference in their community. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed, from fostering confidence and community to preparing them for graduation and beyond. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Yes, I remembered to turn down the mic this time. Oh my gosh. I will try to, I see a long comment coming. I will try my best to get to that. That's a lengthy one, but we'll try. Comment from one viewer: Omar has lost all credibility after the massive theft of money she is involved in. Thank you very much. Now let's got a couple ICE updates here. Should we go there? I did want to mention, because we have some New York State issues too. Let's talk about ICE, and it ties in with Ilhan Omar. First of all, an Idaho saloon owner who promised free beer to citizens willing to help ICE identify and deport illegal aliens is now facing death threat, but he remains undeterred in his mission. Bar owner Mark Fitzpatrick said at Old State Saloon, "We really aren't strangers to speaking out boldly about conservative Christian values and truth and putting the truth out there." The saloon's announcement about free beer ignited a firestorm online with people applauding and criticizing the move. Alert, anyone who helps ICE identify and ultimately deport an illegal from Idaho gets free beer for 1 month at Old State Saloon, the initial post read. Fitzpatrick came up with the idea after 4 years of former President Biden's open border policies that wreaked havoc on American communities. Now the saloon owner said he is being attacked for assisting ICE, and some people saying he should die. On Saturday, the saloon shared a post from someone appearing to threaten the owner by showing a photo of Charlie Kirk moments before he was assassinated. "It should have been you," the photo's caption read. So free. Oof. Well, despite the violent rhetoric being spewed at him and his business, Fitzpatrick said many people have shown support. "I had countless conversations with conservative Christians who came into Old State Saloon today. They're all extremely supportive and thankful for my public stance on immigration. Deport them all. But then a guy just came in and told us he was fired from his job for wearing an Old State Saloon hoodie. I'm hoping he'll be willing to tell his story. More to follow." All right, there you are. Protesters in Chicago hurling snowballs at immigration agents. Federal immigration agents chasing a suspect who ran off after being involved in a car crash near Chicago were targeted by protesters who pelted them with snowballs. Videos of the melee shows dozens of demonstrators shouting at the masked agents on the snowy streets of Elgin, a Windy City suburb, with the feds responding by deploying tear gas to clear the mob. The unruly protesters then start throwing icy snowballs at the agents. The federal forces can be heard on the footage giving verbal warnings before lobbing their tear gas canisters on or nearby the front yards. The demonstrators quickly grabbed the device and buried them in the snow to reduce their efficiency. The clash began when federal agents called local police for assistance after they were involved in a traffic crash while conducting immigration enforcement activities Saturday morning. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, said that threats against ICE agents are up 1,200%. Threats on ICE officers are up 1,200%. They're being doxxed on social media. They're getting death threats every day. They've been attacked. They've been shot at. And, these officers, out there are looking for the worst of the worst. So they're protecting themselves, and I think they're following the law. And if any ICE officer acts out of policy or does something inappropriate, they will be held accountable. But we've got to remember, they're under attack. And we're in a place in this country where all of a sudden the ones who enforce laws, the bad guys and the ones who broke the laws are victims. I'm going to trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol who have been trained very well to do the right thing. But I'll say again, if someone does something inappropriate, out of policy, illegal, they need to be held accountable by simply thinking. I haven't seen that. And again, I'm not in every arrest. I'm not in every operation. I trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol to do the right thing. He also defended ICE's crackdown on Somali migrants in Minnesota after the revelation of that massive fraud. Homan contended that Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis, is rife with illegal immigrants and that lawful citizens have nothing to fear. There's a large illegal Somali community there. There's an illegal alien community there. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear. Because they're Minneapolis, a sanctuary city, we've got to send more resources there to flood the zone because it takes a whole team to find somebody in the community. President Trump last week raged against the Somali community, as you know. We mentioned this before. Speaking of that, Ilhan Omar says she's frustrated since Somalis are also victims in feeding our future scam. This is the way she, for lack of a better word, tried to spin it on Face the Nation. Margaret Brennan called the extent of the scam shocking, noting it was the Biden-era Department of Justice that said it was the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the nation, and the majority of the reported offenders were Somalis, adding to the spotlight on Omar's community. Brennan asked, why do you think the fraud was allowed to get so widespread? Omar I just said it kind of strange. I want to say this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. So it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also, as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred. Brennan asked Omar if there had been a failure of the Minnesota state government, which is dominated by Democrats. She said, that is what I alluded to in my letter that I sent to the Secretary of Attorney General, was to see where things were going wrong. How can this amount of money disappear fraudulently without there being alarms set off? And if something that, we have to continue to investigate. We have to continue to ask those questions. She also said that Trump has an unhealthy and creepy obsession with her. So there are 80,000 people of Somali descent in your state. But the president has been very focused not just on them, but on you in this extraordinary cabinet meeting. He said Somalis, quote, come from, we'll say, heck. So Brennan said that knocking is vehement agreement from his cabinet members there. I just wonder what the reaction in your district to have that from the highest office in the land. Omar said, it is disgusting. It's completely disgusting. There are Americans that he is calling garbage. And we feel like there's an unhealthy obsession that he has on the Somali community and an unhealthy and creepy obsession that he has with me. I think it also is really important for us to remember that this kind of hateful rhetoric and this level of dehumanizing can lead to dangerous actions by people who listen to the president. Then, as to Ken's point, later on, she goes on to call Stephen Miller a Nazi when she's talking about rhetoric. Now, this Somali scandal could potentially sink Tim Walz's political career, according to The Hill. The New York Times put the story on the radar last week, or about 2 weeks ago. The Hill says the governor, I think, has done a very respectable job, a good job in Minnesota for the years that he's been here, but he clearly is vulnerable, and in my view, he is riskier than any Democrat candidate that might run, said Ember Jung, a former Minnesota Democrat state senator. Jung said fraud happened on his watch and that Walz didn't erase that. While she said the governor is taking steps to rectify it, including audits, those investigations will probably uncover more. The analyst said the issue is in the headlines in Minnesota nearly every other day and predicted the issue will continue to surface throughout the next year. On Saturday, Small Business Administration Secretary Kelly Loeffler posted on X that the SBA was also uncovering fraud and accused the governor of using his best efforts to obstruct their investigation. Another longtime ally of Walz told The Hill that the controversy could not only sink his gubernatorial re-election for a third term, but likely a presidential bid as well. Wow, is Tim Walz actually thinking about running for president? The challenges are that Minnesota has a very low tolerance for fraud, waste, and abuse. It's a very low threshold, and that's one of the reasons the state has worked so well for so long. It's clearly a real vulnerability. So there you are. Okay. Oh, one last thing on this. I know I'm running late, but because we got to talk to Mickey Bell in just a moment. But many local stories that could be harmful to Democrat politicians don't become national TV stories for an obvious reason. In the case of the massive welfare fraud committed by Somalis in Minnesota under Tim Walz, this is doubly obvious. The focus launched with conservatives on November 19th with a City Journal article by Christopher Rufo and Ryan Thorpe with a rather unforgettable sentence. Quote, the largest funder of al-Qaeda-linked al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer. Fraudulent social service payments were sent to Somalia and ended up in a dangerous place. The New York Times arrived late to the story on November 30th. The online headline was How Fraud Swamped Minnesota's Social Services System on Tim Walz's Watch. The front page in the paper was notably softer, the social service corruption that preyed on Minnesota's nice. A better term would have been that preyed on Minnesota woke. So I get to all of this. They talk about the broadcast bias at Fox News. Fox News talks about the broadcast bias, that the networks blasted Trump for some tirade that he went on, but not any coverage of the $1 billion Somali scam rocking Minnesota. On December 1st, the New York Post reported that almost 500 state employees tweeted Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. On December 2nd, NBC Nightly News broke the silence in one sentence of a White House roundup by reporter Gabe Gutierrez. And they go through and name them all. Never allow leftist broadcast media operatives to step out into a soapbox and say they're all about holding government accountable. Scandals like this underline that every scandal somehow ends up as a Trump scandal. He said something uncouth about a Somali organized fraud. Omar isn't described as unleashing a tirade when she calls Trump a racist, bigot, and an Islamophobe. They agree with it, so it's just righteous speech. That's Tim Graham from Newsbusters. All right. We got to take a short break. We got Mickey Bell coming up next, so stay with us. We will be right back.
Your Social Security disability claim has been denied, and you don't understand why. Your physical or emotional problems make it impossible for you to work. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Don't give up. Together, we'll file your appeal to give you the best chance to win the benefits you deserve.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton, toll free 1-800-698-0567.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
You're watching Big Fox, WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Boot Camp, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio and in that virtual studio. Mickey Bell, thanks so much for being on the program.
Frank, thank you so much for letting me come and be a part. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm excited. You're going to be in Elmira coming right up on December the 10th. Tell us, for people that aren't familiar with it, and by the way, it's at the Salvation Army of Elmira. What is Celebrate Recovery Celebration?
Celebrate Recovery is a program that was started back in 1991. It is a Christian version of a recovery program similar to that of AA or any type of other addiction facility that you may be familiar with. The only thing is this one actually covers a lot more issues, habits, hurts that people may be going through. They have grief counseling, overeating, abandonment issues, just a whole list of things that they're able to cover. And what I'm doing is I'm coming in and giving everybody kind of like a free night of laughter and just some encouragement for the holidays.
Yeah, and that's what I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're going to put on essentially a comedy show. What made you decide that to share your story, you want to do it through comedy?
Well, see, comedy is one of those things that tears down barriers.
Yeah.
And whenever any comic, it doesn't matter what comic, whether they are rated R or whether they are clean, it doesn't matter. When you laugh, you tear down walls.
Sure.
And I think it's very important that my responsibility is, when those walls are torn down, what am I going to put inside of you that's going to bring about change? It's going to bring you encouragement. It's going to help you through what you're struggling with. And so I take that very seriously.
Well, is it difficult to do comedy when you have such often a serious message?
No. Come on now. I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself with issues.
Well, that's true. That's probably true.
No, a lot of people ask that. That's a great question, because a lot of people ask that. Because I'm very open about my bout with mental illness. I'm very open about the fact that I take medication, and people are like, how do you incorporate that with comedy? And I'm like, you know what? It's really fairly easy once you see that it's not about the heavy subject of mental illness. It's just kind of laughing at the things that we do when we think we're okay, when we're really not.
Right. And we should know, because the event coming up on December 10th at the Salvation Army of Elmira, it is obviously, I think you've already pointed to it, family friendly. It's for all ages, right?
It is. When I started doing comedy, Frank, one of the very first things that I wanted to be sure that I was able to do, I wanted to be able to have a show to where the teenagers could come,
Sure.
but then Mama and Papa could come.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be afraid of, oh, he's going to say something. Now, I'm going to push the envelope. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
You might get a little uncomfortable, but it's not going to be because of the content, or it's not going to be because that I use filthy language. I don't cuss in my programs. Now, I think it, I just don't say it. And so, but I just wanted a night where the entire family could come and enjoy an evening together, because we really don't have a lot of events that allow that to happen.
No.
I mean, even when you go to a movie, I mean, a lot of it's restricted by age. And so I wanted an event where everybody could come and experience it together.
Do you find it corny when people ask, is it difficult to do comedy that's not blue? Because some of the greatest of all time did it clean.
Well, when I first started, and I reached out to a couple of mentors in LA that were comics, they told me I had to choose. I had to choose right then. Which one are you going to be? Because once you go one way, you can't turn around and go the other.
That's a good point.
So I was told that when doing clean comedy, it's going to be harder to write, it's going to be harder to deliver, but you're going to have way more opportunities to work. And that has been absolutely true. I've done 250 shows this year, and already planning on doing that many again next year, because people find it difficult to find shows again where the entire family can come. You don't have to worry about getting a babysitter.
Right.
Everybody can come, and that was for Mama and Papa. But no, it's just clean comedy is harder to write.
Yeah.
And then when you start getting around church people, that is another version of clean that you have to apply to the washing. Because there are things that you can say in a comedy club that you can't say in the Baptist church, or you can once. You just won't do it back.
But you mentioned that you did that many gigs this year alone, and I'm looking at your schedule, and you somehow find time, and I want to talk about both of them, to write a book. You're also going to do a movie here soon.
Yeah.
Do you have any free time, or are you?
No.
It doesn't sound it. No.
The only free time I had today, and I'm talking to you. So there you go.
Sorry,
That's
pal.
how important you are to my life.
Sorry, pal. You could have done better. But tell us about your brand new book. You're Not Alone This Holiday Season. Perfect time to be out.
Well, see, when I've been talking about mental illness for the last 2 years in my shows, and just with my partnership with NAMI and all the different organizations that deal with mental health, the holidays are the worst.
Sure.
That is the worst for individuals that deal with any kind of anxiety, depression, PTSD. The holidays are the worst. And I thought, we've got to do something. And I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I sat down and I put this, it's like a 67-page book. I mean, it's very easy, quick to read. But from the results that we're hearing, from the response of the people, it's very powerful in the sense that I keep you laughing, even though we're talking about, a heavy subject. But the thing about the holidays is there are individuals that dread it. They don't like the music. They don't like the lights because it reminds them of someone that's not there. Or it reminds them of how lonely they may really feel. And so I wanted to do something that kind of helped them, that help them understand that you are not alone this holiday season. And a lot of times the reason we become alone is we choose to be. So we have to put ourselves out there. And we have to attend things like a comedy show that's coming to your area.
Coming to Elmira on December 10th. Perfect.
I mean, we're giving you the opportunity to do that. But no, that little book, thank you for mentioning it. It's available on Amazon. I think it's $4.99.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We're literally doing it at cost, because it wasn't one of those books that we wrote to try to become a bestseller. We didn't write it to make a profit. I literally wrote it to help individuals get through the holiday season and turn those tears into laughter.
And this isn't your first book. In the past, you did a devotional, right?
I did. I've done a devotional. It's 60 days for people who are looking for their identity, people who have a struggle. One of my biggest struggles, Frank, was getting out of the bed. I say now that if my feet touch the floor, I've won the day. That's usually my biggest struggle. I can handle whatever comes at me usually after that. So I did a 60-day devotional to where if you were to pick up the phone and call me every day for 60 days, please don't do that. This would be what I would tell you. And it's been really good. A book I wrote before that is called Reverse the Course of Depression.
Okay.
That's 14 different thoughts that attack my mind when it comes to my depression. And I teach people how to handle those thoughts before they turn into feelings. So, yeah.
Well, and that's interesting, going back to the whole comedy idea, because you would think someone dealing with depression would struggle with comedy.
Well, here's the thing. Every comedian that's worth their salt in comedy, we all have issues.
Oh, sure.
That's the reason we're standing on stage doing comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way back to Robin Williams. I mean, look at his story. Look at his life. Look at how it ended.
Yeah.
So we all have issues. And when you talk to people like Kevin Hart, when you talk to people like Steve Harvey, Nate Bargatze, when you talk to John Chris, you can mention all of these comics, they will tell you there's something wrong with us.
Sure.
And what we have learned to do is we've learned to turn that pain around and go, okay, I can turn that into something positive. And if what used to be a mechanism for me as a child to deflect the pain that I was feeling as a teenager in trying to be funny and make people laugh, now I get paid to do it.
Well, that's but speaking of your busy schedule, you've got to tell us about your filming schedule coming up in February. So you're almost there. Tell us about, you're going to be working with Dean Cain, right?
Well, actually, I have already done 2 movies.
Okay.
We did one in Vegas with Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Holy One. It's in production or it's in editing right now. I did another movie in Arkansas.
Okay.
That's going to be coming out. I'm actually headed, in fact, tomorrow. I am headed to West Virginia to do a Christmas movie with Dean and Kevin.
Oh, okay.
Paint Saves Christmas. And so that's going to be one that we're doing. The one that we're gearing up for in February is actually a movie based on my life story. And so we're very excited about that. But yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity I never thought would come. I mean, when you think Dean Cain, Superman, and you think Kevin Sorbo, Hercules, where does Mickey Bell fit in there? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
I mean, I can't even stand next to them to take a photo without standing in a chair. So it's a very unique experience, one that I am going to always treasure because they are great guys, very encouraging, and I just love that I get to have that a part of my life now.
Well, and Kevin Sorbo, and this is not take away from Dean Cain. I know with Kevin Sorbo, when you saw him in God's Not Dead, you ended up hating the guy.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. When I interviewed him, it was almost, I was on edge, you know?
When I saw my wife look at him for the first time. You know what? And I'm going to kind of tell my age here, but I remember talking to a guy by the name of Nikita Koloff. Nikita Koloff was a wrestler that was a Russian nightmare, even though he was never Russian.
Right.
And I remember when I talked to him, I said, I hated you. He went, yes. I did my job. And I think that's the same thing with Kevin. I think the fact that he was able to cause you to hate him so much just talks about how great of an actor he is.
I know.
That just means he did his job.
Yeah, he did a great job. So that's great you get to work with him. So would you rather be filming or would you rather be on stage?
On stage.
Yeah. There's probably nothing like it.
Well, see, filming is a hurry up and wait. Like, you may go on set and sit for 3 hours, and then they need you for 15 minutes, and then you go sit and wait. See, the thing with comedy that I love, too, is the fact that I get to see the transformation. So when people come in and they're sitting down for a show, I can see the stress. I can see the pain. I can see the hurt. But I can also see when they let that barrier down and they start laughing, and you start seeing a peace come over them. Man, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. That was probably not the best question because, I mean, I would think filming is neat in its own way. But, man, that's got to feel, in your case.
Yeah, I mean, because filming is just you, a camera, and whoever's there.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the response immediately. Right. And you may never get to see the response when people are watching the movie. You just kind of have to hope that it's connecting. When you're on stage, you automatically see that it's connecting.
Yeah. And we're talking about Celebrate Recovery Celebration, December 10th, the Salvation Army of Elmira. I know you're extremely busy, so we'll tie it back into that event on the 10th. I'm sure during your years doing this, you've received amazing testimony and how you've helped people. What does that feel like?
It keeps me going every day.
Yeah.
It gets me out of the bed, literally.
Yeah.
When I think that I'm not doing enough, when I think about, I'm not funny enough, I'm not as funny as everybody else. I mean, come on now, that works on your emotions just like it does everybody else.
Sure.
I mean, just because I look like I've got it all together doesn't mean I've got it all together. And so you start thinking about those testimonies. You start thinking about that pastor that sent me an email yesterday that's never met me before, but wanted to tell me how my reels on Facebook help him get through the day. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's those moments. It's those stories. It's those testimonies of people going, you know what? I really wanted to end it, but you gave me hope again. And
amazing.
That's what helps you get through the day.
That's amazing. Mickey Bell's been our guest. Thanks so much for being here on the program, and best of luck in Elmira on December 10th.
Listen, I can't wait to be there, Frank. I'm kind of upset.
What?
We didn't wave at anybody.
I know. I said I was going to wave, but I forget at Zoom. I stare down, so I don't look
we
up.
We never I was going to wave with you.
Yeah.
Nobody came by and waved.
Yeah, nobody came by and waved. It's even lunchtime. Where are they? Well, it is 7 degrees out. That could be the reason.
There you go.
Keep that in mind when you're here on December 10th. Dress warm.
Not looking forward to that.
No, Mickey, thanks a lot. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
An Albany buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you to Mickey Bell for being on the program this morning. Fun guy, fun interview. That will be, again, his appearance will be at the Salvation Army of Elmira, December 10th for Celebrate Recovery Celebration. That's at 414 Lake Street in Elmira. So we appreciate him being on the show. Let's go to some viewer comments, because we are running late. A lot of comments here. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, I see Kennedy has most everyone's underwear in a knot over vaccines. You know, Kennedy needs to listen to science, not those scary voices going off in his head. He needs to head back to the Cape and sail off into the sunset. Such an embarrassment to the Kennedys. Putin is playing Trump like a fiddle, mocking him at the Kremlin, saying he is going to escalate the war on Ukraine. Ain't going to win, Donald. Putin is actually more selfish than you are. He just doesn't walk around bragging about how much he has gained by ripping people off like you do. Imagine that. When is Trump going to wake up? Shame about Letitia James. Again, so who is handling this? The law firm of Trump, Chump, and Bump, or the DOJ? Or are they one and the same? Well, Big Don wins the first annual gold-plated FIFA Peace Prize. What a joke. You know he stopped 8 wars. Somebody tell me which 8. Lies. This is the same guy blowing up boats, threatening Venezuela with a floating army with 20,000 soldiers on board, filling our streets with gangs of thugs to gather up people, break up families and ship them back to where they came from, and fill targeted Democratic City streets with National Guard troops to fight crime when they aren't trained to fight it. But the biggest wrong was January 6th and the insurrection and attack that Trump was responsible for. Then he wins a peace prize, really? Who else was in the running? Kim Jong-un? Netanyahu? What a worthless trophy. Peace award, what a joke. The fool and the FIFA fool have no idea what it takes to be an ambassador for peace. Smart on FIFA's part to award Trump that trophy so that they don't get any grief getting teams into the U.S. to play soccer. All right, comment from a different viewer. Thank you, Rick. Comment from a different viewer. So let me get this straight. Donald J. Trump spends 4 years in office getting attacked from every direction by the swamp creatures. Impeached twice, spied on, lied about, accused of everything short of sinking the Titanic, and through it all, he never pardoned himself. Never ran, never hid, and never backed down. Then Biden shuffles in, and suddenly real corruption is fashionable again. The man's family turns public service into a global ATM, raking in millions from China, Ukraine, and whoever else was dumb enough to Venmo the big guy. And when his time's up, he signs a blanket pardon for his whole darn family, like it's Black Friday at the Department of Justice. But here's the kicker. While Trump's out of office, minding his own business in Florida, they launch every bogus charge imaginable just to keep him from coming back. Indictments, investigation, mugshot, witch hunt. They probably checked if he returned his Blockbuster rentals from 1998. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to jail him. They tried to erase him. And yet here he is, back in the Oval Office. Still standing, still swinging, still terrifying the same people who said he'd never make it past Iowa. Now he starts using the one power that belongs solely to the president, the power to pardon. And suddenly the media is having a collective nervous breakdown like somebody told them TikTok was getting banned. That's an abuse of power, they shriek. Really? Where was that energy when Biden was pardoning his own family of felons? This isn't journalism anymore. It's gaslighting with a side of amnesia. The same people who weaponized the justice system for 4 years are now clutching their pearls because the guy they tried to destroy didn't stay destroyed. You don't get to frame a man, persecute him, and then whine when he uses his legal right to set things straight. That's not democracy. That's delusion. And it's rich as heck coming from the same crew that turned the DOJ into a Biden family law firm. You may be that stupid, but I am not. And take notice that there's not another single word from the left about the Epstein files. Good point on that. I've had a lot of people comment. Didn't the Democrats refer to Republicans? Oh, comment from a different viewer, excuse me. Didn't the Democrats refer to Republicans as garbage? Their hypocrisy used to be funny. Now it is just maddening. And finally, Ken writes in, Frank, how much will American taxpayers eventually pay Marjorie Taylor Greene for her 5 years of service? If she lives to 80 years old, well, 5 years times 174,000 equals 870,000. 29 years times 130,000 plus or minus equals $3,770,000. Total $4,640,000. Now multiply that by hundreds of Congress people. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for doing the math for us. We appreciate it. All right, we got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we will be right back after this.
Your tap water is delicious. I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system. What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News. Give kids time.
At Penn State, we preach excellence and try and strive every single day to be better than we were the last. It's very clearly resembled here.
It's Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. We're a family.
I can tell he's a wrestler and he supports us. I'm really grateful for that.
You've got to repeat the process so many times to get it right. But once you get it right, you just got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it the same way every time, every day without fail. No exceptions. It's like wrestling. The good wrestlers, they really practice hard and work hard.
Blaze Alexander, where champions strive.
Who are you?
Your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A quick reminder, don't forget, today kicks off the Friendly Salvation Army Bell Ringing Challenge. Corning City Republicans take on the Corning City Democrats. It's a yearly tradition. Today is the Democrats' Day. They'll be there from 10 to 6. The new mayor, I should say mayor-elect, Pam Walker, who's been on this program numerous times. I think she's going to be right around noon, I think it said, with Mayor Bill Bolin, current mayor. So just a friendly competition, all goes to a great cause. But again, it's today for the Democrats, tomorrow the Republicans. Do not miss it. I wanted to mention this, even though it doesn't necessarily directly affect us here in upstate. It was worth mentioning from the New York Post. They have an op-ed out today that says any New York leader who cares about affordability will cheer Representative Nick Langworthy's effort to rein in the state's obscene scaffold law. President Trump and anyone who's built anything in the Empire State knows how the 140-year-old law makes construction projects more expensive and less viable. Ever since 1885, this statute has made contractors and property owners 100% liable for workers' gravity-related injuries, even when they're almost entirely the fault of the workers themselves. That absolute liability rule sends insurance premiums through the roof, adding as much as 10% to construction costs. Every other state uses a different comparative negligence standard, meaning parties share liability in proportion to the responsibility for the injury. And now Langworthy is pushing a workaround for projects that use federal funds. His bill would send lawsuits over injuries on federal-funded jobs to federal court, where comparative negligence holds. Even uber-liberal states like California and Illinois don't impose the absolute liability standard. Illinois became the last state in the union to scrap that approach decades ago. Taxpayers could save billions on federally backed projects like the Hudson River Gateway Project and the Port Authority Bus Terminal. The expected total price tag for federal funded work in New York over just the next 5 years is about $80 billion. If the scaffold law accounts for 10% of those costs, that's $8 billion saved. Albany should have ditched the scaffolding law long ago. In New York, a worker who hurts himself while drunk or ignoring safety rules can make his bosses entirely responsible, even if the worker was 99.9% responsible. That's not just unfair, it makes projects needlessly costly. Sometimes so much so that they don't get built. But state lawmakers heed the demands of trial lawyers and unions to resist common sense reform. Perhaps with a push from New York's most famous developer, Congress will attach Langworthy's fix to some must-pass bill and maybe even embarrass Albany into at least ending scaffolding law insanity. Now that would be a true boon to affordability. So I thought I would pass that along to you, Congressman Langworthy, getting a little kudos from those at the New York Post. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Get your last second comments in. Oh, I forgot this comment. Thank you, Trump, and thank you, God. And then they continued, thank you, Frank, and thank you, Ken. Well, thank you very much for that great comment. Forgot to read that coming back from break. I appreciate it. We got to take our last break of today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Valicenti Advisory Services has been building long-term relationships in our community for over 35 years. We pride ourselves in the ability of our teams in wealth management and tax and business to work together to offer coordinated planning services for our clients. The mission of Valicenti Advisory Services is to provide specialized wealth management, tax, and business services to help clients meet their personal financial goals. Valicenti Advisory Services, Water Street in Elmira. Visit us at valicenti.com.
We're all across America talking to people about their hearts. How's the heart?
Good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? Let me show you something. Put 2 fingers right on those pads. Look at that. That's your heart.
That is pretty awesome.
With Cardio Mobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Cardio Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. Get Cardio Mobile for yourself or a loved one this holiday. On sale now for just $69 at cardio.com or Amazon.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from Mark. He said, hats off to Nick Langworthy. He's doing a great job. And Frank, have a great day. Thank you, Mark. You have a good day as well, and I agree. All right, Zoran Mamdani gives advice to thwart and evade ICE. in a video message calling to stand up to the feds. The Democratic Socialist positioned himself as the mayor of more than 3 million immigrants as he spoke following last weekend's ICE raid in Chinatown. Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole speech, this whole video. Now, remember the name George Pataki, our one-time governor? He said tax hikes being considered by Governor Hochul and other moderate Democrats to satisfy Zohran Mamdani and his radical comrades will cause a mass exodus of New Yorkers if implemented. Quote, it's bad enough the way things are now. If Hochul goes ahead and raises taxes on New Yorkers again, I think there comes a point where it becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. New York just can't afford this, the ex-governor said. We have taxes that are already too high, regulations that are too severe. New Yorkers have been leaving New York in droves for places like Florida and Texas. The potential flip-flop for for the governor with a history of them comes as she continues to be taunted in public with chants of tax the rich. Pataki blamed Hochul and other moderate Democrats' change on the heart regarding tax hikes on the threat of the far left coming for their jobs. Quote, I think they're looking at Mamdani's victory and thinking, oh my goodness, I could have a primary. So we better raise taxes. Mamdani wants to raise taxes, and I'm afraid the Hochul and the legislature are going to go along with him. Hochul's spokesperson, Carrie Camaletti, said Hochul has been clear that she hopes to avoid raising any taxes, adding Pataki should know better than most that you can't plan a state budget without knowing what cuts to Medicaid and other programs will come from Washington. If Governor Pataki wants to help prevent tax increases, he should urge Washington Republicans to stop targeting New York with devastating cuts. All right. Comment from a viewer. Ken said, I just wanted to say to the viewer who sent in a description for the last 10 years of how the legacy media and Democrats' treatment of Trump. Great job, says Ken. Well, they did do a good job. I appreciate that. All right. Does that do it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking already? Oh, man, I wanted to get to this. Victor Davis Hanson says, as Governor Newsom gears up to run for president, what in the world will he run on? Californians know that Newsom will not boast, quote, I will do for America what I've done to California. Why not? Count the reasons. Their astronomical gas prices and taxes remain the highest in the U.S. The state's trifecta of the highest electricity rates, the costliest home prices, and the fourth highest home insurance costs. California carries the largest debt in the nation. The budget deficit each year usually ranges from $15 to $70 billion. Such spending and deficits explain why the state also has the highest income taxes and state sales tax rates in the nation. Just 1% of Californian households pay 50% of the state income tax. And the fleeced are leaving in droves. And the list goes on and on. But California has a lot of other most, like the largest population of illegal aliens, of homeless people, people fleeing a state, the largest number and percentage of foreign-born residents, the largest number of people living in poverty. The list goes on and on. So you can find that for yourself at the New York Post by Victor Davis Hanson. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to Mickey Bell for being our guest. We appreciate him being on the program. He is going to be at the Elmira Salvation Army on December 10th for the Celebrate Recovery celebration. Again, Democrats are ringing the bell for Corning City, or Corning Salvation Army, excuse me. Today is the Democrats. Tomorrow are the Republicans. Join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.